And disgraced tennis star Bob Hewitt faces jail time. The Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein has dismissed his appeal. The 76-year-old was appealing a 6-year sentence handed down by the North Gauteng High Court. In March last year, Hewitt was found guilty of raping Teresa Tolkien and Suellen Sheehan. He was also found guilty of sexually assaulting a third woman. It happened in the 1980s and 90s when the women were still minor tennis students. Hewitt was also ordered to pay 100,000 rand to the Justice Department to be used for initiatives to curb violence against women and children. The Supreme Court of Appeal Deputy Judge President Mandisa Maya highlighted the impact of the rapes on one of the victims. The court said while his age was a mitigating factor, it could not make him escape jail time. With us in studio is Miranda Friedmann. She's the founding director of the civil organization Women and Men Against Child Abuse, who instigated court proceedings against Bob Hewitt. A very good evening to you and thank you for joining us. What's your reaction to today's ruling?
It's been a very emotional day. We are extremely pleased as an organization. We started this really in 2011 when Suellen approached us and said that, her case was lying on the NPA's desk and nothing was happening. And one of the things we decided to do was hold a press conference and actually create media attention and pressurize the NPA to putting this on the court roll. And that eventually happened in 2013 when Bob Hewitt, came to court for the very first time. And there were numerous postponements. And that's why, you'll remark that last year was kind of when the case got going and when we saw the conviction.
What do you make of Hewitt's legal counsel arguing that he's simply too old for jail time?
I don't think that's valid. I think, quite frankly, he committed crimes that are lifelong effects on all the children that he raped and molested. And we know there are many more than the 3 that have come forward. So as far as we're concerned, neither money, age, or ill health should really prevent you from facing the consequences of the crimes you committed to very young children that destroyed most of their lives.
This case has been closely watched. It's been in the spotlight due to Bob Hewitt's prominence and also the fact that the incident took place some years ago.
Yes.
Talk to me about how difficult it is for survivors to come forward and relay their story.
It's extremely difficult. First of all, we must remember that when these crimes happened and the time and the years that you were talking about that happened, and we're talking about late 70s and early 80s, really, very few children spoke about. In fact, families didn't talk about child abuse, and society didn't. And we are talking at a time when children were really not believed, and also the fact that a lot of the people who had access to these children were very well liked by both parents, by society in general. So saying that this person who is well known, well liked, well respected, has done this to you is a huge step. It's part of the late disclosure that we have a big problem, particularly with sexual offences. It's a very private crime. It's a crime that doesn't happen in public. And in general, society has protected the perpetrator and has in fact rallied around sort of not wanting to sort of put them in the spotlight, but rather to keep them the heroes that we thought they were and would like to remember them as. So it's extremely difficult. It's something which is becoming more and more into the spotlight about the fact that why should people disclose at the time? Then they become teenagers. Then you are at university or studying, maybe getting married, maybe starting a life, hoping that this will go away. And it's often in your 30s and 40s and 50s that people really feel confident to come forward now and disclose what happened to them. The thing is that society still judges that very much. They want you to say something immediately. They want you to scream about this and create a fuss about it. But actually, all the people that are out there listening to what I'm saying to you that have been sexually violated will understand what I say, that the guilt, the shame, and everything else that's involved, and particularly the uncertainty of once you disclose what's happened to you, really is something that they hope will go away, but it never does. The effects of sexual abuse are huge. They're life-changing. And for us, one of our big campaigns now really is to see and encourage people that were abused in an era when we didn't talk about abuse can come forward, and it's never too late. And it's never too late to have closure. And for me, people that think they can get away and think that this will be a protected crime must realize that the more society talks about it and understands how sexual abuse occurs and how people gain the trust of families, communities, religious leaders, and have access to these children. And we've just seen a huge sentence now being given, and numerously around the world we are seeing children starting to speak up. I think we'll eventually see less of it because society won't tolerate or protect it.
Cabinet today announced something. They said that crime stats will soon be released quarterly. I'm wondering what impact, if any, is that likely to have on the fight against sexual violence and abuse?
Well, I think, stats are a tricky one. Personally, I think the fact that I started as an activist 20 years ago, and I can just tell you, very few media reports. Families weren't talking about it. I would go into a social environment and someone would even introduce me as someone who worked within the realm of child abuse, and people would physically move away from me. And the difference is that today people approach people like me and many others who work in the realm of sexual violence and actually tell their story. And what is very, very scary is just how much and how prevalent and how many people have lived with this for many years. So I think the very important thing that has changed, and I think if we see more reporting, we need to encourage it. We want to see the stats going up because we know that what we are seeing, our clinics see approximately 2,000 children a year. We're talking about two clinics in Gauteng only. Can you just imagine what is happening in the rest of the country? But what is amazing is that these children are coming to us sooner. Society is changing, people are embracing, and people really aren't fearing. And I think the shame and guilt is going to be transferred from the victim actually to the perpetrator.
You mentioned things like the court not being able to put the case on the roll, not having enough media attention. Your organization rallied to get media attention around this Hewitt case. What are the other big obstacles to achieving justice for victims?
Well, quite frankly, we really are concerned that the NPA took so long to put this particular case on the roll. And I think there are many other cases where they sort of weigh up, will they have a successful conviction? Is it a 50-50? Quite frankly, if I'm going to go into an operation and I've got a 50% chance to live or not, I'm going to go for that operation and I'm going to go for it. So we'd really like to see more cases being put on the roll. We'd like to see more cases being tested, like this one. I think there really was a belief that this was never going to go very far, and really we've seen it go all the way to the Supreme Court of Appeal, and we've seen them stand by both the conviction and the sentence. So I believe society is changing, and we'd really like to see the NPA looking at this very seriously. We have just far too many cases with numerous postponements. 2 weeks ago we were at a case in Tonga that had 17 postponements for a little girl who's 6 years old when she was raped, and she's 9.5 now, and she hasn't yet spoken in court. Her parents appeared for the first time 2 weeks ago, and again that was pressure. There was pressure from our organization that has a reasonable reach, but not a reach all over. It should not be up to pressure organizations to make sure that the job is being done. Sexual offences is huge in our country, and really we need to see perpetrators dealt with swiftly, and we need to see children and adult survivors being able to get back to their lives, their normal lives, as soon as possible.
Thank you very much for your time and your thoughts. That was Miranda Friedmann, founder director of the civil organization Women and Men Against Child Abuse, and they instigated court proceedings against Bob Hewitt.